welcome back to another episode of the Iron Purpose Podcast. We got a little switch up here. Last night, I decided to record this episode, and when I was trying to mess with the audio of this and my other microphones, I ended up putting this away and plugging my old microphone back in. Well, I thought it was my old microphone. It was actually my phone charger, and I recorded a 30-minute episode with zero volume, zero sound, zero audio. So we're going to give it another shot here, and I think it just plays right into kind of what I want to talk about today. And going back to what I said about a week ago, I turned 30. It was my 30th birthday, and with that comes, everybody saying, "Oh, well, buckle up. This is when things start to get interesting. Your body, you're not able to do stuff like you used to anymore." I'm a big NFL fan, so you think of NFL football. If a wide receiver or a running back, once they kind of hit the 30s, it's kind of things start slowing down for them. And so you start thinking about that kind of stuff, like, oh man, I'm 30. I've already gone through 30 years of life. And instead of being optimistic about it, you start to find the pessimistic side of things, and you go, man, I'll never have my childhood again. My brothers are all growing up. Those things that I love to do, that I used to do a lot, I'm just not able to do anymore because of my time, my career. I've got a son now. I'm a dad. All these different things. And I don't know about you, but there's times where I've woken up out of bed. My alarm clock goes off, and I'm like, ugh. Peel myself out of my sheets, off my pillow, and make my way to the bathroom. And I look myself in the mirror, and you just kind of have this bad taste in your mouth. You start to have these little negative thoughts that kind of trickle in. You go, oh man, I don't really look like I used to. I'm not as athletic or not as in shape as I used to be. Oh man, you should really get a haircut, or man, you're looking kind of grimy, and these thoughts start to trickle throughout the day. They kind of come in. You start your day off like that, and you go into the kitchen and you're trying to make your lunch, and you drop something, you end up waking up your son or your wife or whatever, and you're like, oh man, I'm just idiot. These scenarios start to play out in your mind where you're just not good enough. Like, I'm thinking about going to work. I got to go to work here in a few hours, and think about not wanting to go. You get a little bit anxious. Like, I really just wish I could have stayed with my family. And those little negative thoughts start to force you to identify with them and make you think that you're not enough. You start to get this identity crisis, or this imposter syndrome of, I'm not enough. I'm not amounting to anything. My work is all for nothing. And you start to listen to just these little negative things that all started when you got up out of bed. And so a couple months ago, I started working night shift, and I'm a little more tired than I was because my routine has just kind of shifted up, and I haven't been able to get into the gym like I used to, like I was doing. I was really consistent with it before I kind of started, and ended up getting really sick, and kind of pulled me out of it. So I found myself looking in the mirror going, ugh, man, you're looking kind of rough, or man, you're not as good as you used to be, or man, you really have this position at work, and you're kind of, are you a phony? Should you even have this position? Insert whatever thoughts that you have. And the other night, I had an opportunity to work out at work. We have a spot where we can go work out for a little bit as long as it's not super busy, and so I took advantage of that. I did a workout. And afterwards, I was walking out, had all my gear and everything. I was getting ready to go back up to shift. And I saw myself in the mirror and kind of looked myself in the eyes. And I was like, wow, after that workout, I was feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good about myself, feeling confident. And, you just kind of get a little glimpse in the mirror of I just did a really big arm workout. So I had a little bit of a pump going. And it's kind of like when you go get a haircut. Ladies, maybe you can relate to this. You go get your hair done, get a haircut, or you go get your nails done. You have just a little bit of a boost of confidence within you, where all of a sudden you're like, I am pretty cool. I am able to do this. I'm capable. I'm strong enough to complete this task. I can go upstairs and be a leader for the people that I work with. I can go home and be a rock star dad. Just that little shift in your mindset changes your perspective on your whole life and everything that you do. You go get a haircut, you're looking sharp, you come out, see yourself in the mirror, you're like, wow, I am a good dad. And I don't know if you've ever thought of that before, or had those instances where just a little shift in your mindset really changes how you view yourself, how you view your current situation, how you view your life. Because if you wake up out of bed and you start looking at yourself like, you're never going to be great, it's not that, not that you're not, but those thoughts get into your head and you start to think that you're not, and then all of a sudden you're not, because you start believing it, you start living it out. So what could happen if you shift your mindset just a little bit to where you do think you are great, where you do think you're capable? God put you on this earth for a reason. You're here for a reason, and Maybe it's to be great. Maybe it's to, be exceptional. Maybe it's just to be the best possible version that you can be for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for people around you. Only you can answer that question. And that's something that I've been going back and forth with and dealing with, and something that's been on my mind a lot. An analogy that I thought about the other day that kind of plays into these mindsets is, I was leaving to go to the gym, or I was maybe going to work, or I don't remember what it was, but I did what probably everybody does at some point in their life, or sometime in their day or their week. Before you leave, you check the stove, or you make sure that the lights are all turned off, or that your power strips are turned off, or you don't have the fireplace still on, or any heaters, because you don't want the house to burn down while you're gone. I don't know if you've ever done that before, and I thought how tragic it would be to lose everything inside my home. Now, my family wasn't there, so that was obviously the number one priority. My dogs weren't there at the time either, but, had everything burned down in my house, that would be very tragic. All my memories, everything that I have. I was listening to an audiobook the other day by Zig Ziglar, and he brought up a very familiar point with that feeling that I just described. Is he said, what if one day, while you were away, either your house burned down or somebody came in and they took all of your possessions, they took everything that you had, everything that was important to you. You'd be devastated. You'd be heartbroken. You'd just be defeated. And then the very next day, you get a phone call from either the police or from a friend, and they say, "Hey, we caught the person and we returned all your belongings." Or if there was that fire, your friend said, "Hey, I noticed there was smoke and I went in and I got all your stuff out before the house burned down." There'd be so much relief. There'd be so much joy. You'd be ecstatic and excited and so much gratitude. You'd be thanking God for for the opportunity to have your stuff. And we have all of our stuff right now. I have all of those things that I would be so excited to have back. I have that right now. And yet I don't treat them as if I'm excited for them. I'm not joyful to have them. I take them for granted all the time. And I take for granted the current moment that I have. And I heard somebody else say the other day, TGIF, thank God it's Friday. Or, man, I can't wait till Friday. It can't come soon enough. And it's, maybe it's a Monday or it's a Sunday night, you're getting ready to go to work, and somebody says, thank God it's almost Friday. I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to this. I can't, if only I had this, my life would be better. If only I was in this vacation or had this situation going on, my life would be better. We're looking forward to all these different things. We're looking at our neighbors' lawns, our neighbors' yards to see if the grass is greener on the other side. We're continuously looking ahead, looking forward to things, completely disregarding the current moment. Now, I did the math. If I'm looking forward to each Friday for the rest of my life, so I just turned 30, like I said, just had a birthday. Now, say I live to be 80 years old, right around there, this is the math. Each Friday from now until then make up 14.25% of the rest of my life. Now, if I'm continuously looking forward to the 14.25% that I have left on this earth, I'm completely disregarding, I'm completely abandoning, I'm completely throwing away each opportunity that is left within the rest of the days. Rest of the 80%, I think it was 85.75 left over percent of the rest of the days that I have left to live. And I'm just completely throwing them away because I'm consistently looking forward to the next thing. Now, just like that mindset, that the mindset of looking in the mirror and saying, thinking that I'm not enough. I'm looking at the possessions in my home and I'm thinking this isn't enough. I'm looking at my current situation and I'm looking forward to Friday or to the vacation because it's just not enough. And when we consistently start to think of ourselves as not enough, that's the way we're going to operate. And I've heard the quote before, you cannot consistently operate in a manner that is inconsistent with the way you see yourself. So if you look in the mirror and think you're not enough, if you look in the mirror and think you're a failure of a husband and a father, and you're not a great correctional officer, and you're not a great friend, a great human being, then that's the way you're going to operate. It's not all of a sudden you're going to be able to just do all these great things. If you don't believe in yourself, how is anybody else going to believe you when you try to help them? How is anybody else going to believe that you're capable of what you're doing if you don't see it in yourself? And so after that workout at work the other day, I saw myself in the mirror. I was like, you are capable. Just because I had a little mindset shift in that workout, had a little pump going, I was feeling good, and I took a little picture of it. I took a picture of that moment. I never planned on talking about it or even posting it anywhere, but it was an opportunity for me to remember what that mindset is. So I challenge you today, if you're thinking poorly of yourself, if you're thinking you're not capable of overcoming, there's the cops. No, that's not the cops. Jude, you're going fast, dog. Oh, that guy's cruising. Anyway, I just want to challenge you to look at yourself in the mirror. How are you viewing yourself, and how is that causing you to operate throughout your day? I have one more analogy for you. When I think of this person who thinks less of themselves and this person who is very confident in who they are, it reminds me of two different characters out there. And the first one, he's really depressed, he's lonely. He says, oh, if something bad happens, he just kind of accepts it and keeps on moving on with his day. He's very doom and gloom, and I guess, I didn't get that promotion. I wasn't meant to get it anyways because I'm a loser. The way that I'm talking, the tone, if it doesn't remind you, it's an Eeyore. It's an Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, the little donkey who is just sad about everything. He's just lonely, and even though he's got all these friends around him, he operates in a fashion that is consistent with the way he sees himself, because he's just sad and depressed and lonely. And on the flip side, when I think of a character who's courageous, who's hopeful, who has belief in himself and the people around him, and thinks that he is capable of getting the job done, even if nobody else believes in him, I think of Optimus Prime. In Transformers, the leader of the Autobots. He's constantly encouraging other people and telling them, hey, I'm going to stick up for you. I'm going to fight for you. Life is worth fighting for. I am hopeful. I am optimistic that we're going to see this mission through, and even if I have to do it by myself. There's a scene where he's all by himself and he's taking on all these Decepticons. You may have seen it before, and he ends up taking them all on and fighting to the very last breath, and he ends up winning. And I think that's all because he believed in himself. Had he had an Eeyore mentality when he was taking these people on, he probably would have been defeated, because he can't consistently operate in a manner that is inconsistent with the way that he sees himself. Now, the cool thing is about these two characters is they are actually voiced by the same exact guy, Peter Cullen. He voices both of these characters. So with that analogy, I look deep down inside myself as one singular person having these two opportunities to pick from, these two mindsets to pick from. Do I have an Eeyore mentality, a mindset where I don't believe in myself, where I don't think that I'm worthy of love or capable of being loved or showing love? I'm not strong enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not wise enough. I'm not crafty enough. You're not smart enough. What are you doing? You can't do this. You're not confrontational. You don't have the ability to put your foot down in situations when you need to. You're too agreeable. You're just a Mr. Nice Guy. Like, you can't do this. You can't do that. You just kind of accept things as they go, and all of a sudden you start to live that out, and you start to see yourself as that Eeyore looking back at you in the mirror. And yet within us is the same exact voice, but just a different tone, a different mindset. That of, Optimus Prime, the hero, the one who can overcome the things that are coming his way, the one who does believe that he's able to be the best that he can be for the people around him. Now, a disclaimer here is there's a lot of people who are really struggling with things that need, like, clinical assistance. Like, you need help, holistic growth. There's faith, there's strength, there's spiritual sides of things. There's, you may need to see a pastor to help you with your spiritual side. You may need to get with a personal trainer to help you physically to overcome some challenges, and you may need to get with a therapist or a counselor to talk through some mental health things. Maybe even get on some medication to help you with this. But you're never going to be able to take those steps if you have the wrong mindset, if you think that you're not capable of doing it. So I want to challenge you today. How are you viewing yourself? Are you seeing yourself as this less than person that is incapable of overcoming or being the best version of yourself? Are you having imposter syndrome, thinking that, hey, this is a phony I'm looking back at in the mirror? This person looking at me is a phony. Or are you standing up and looking in the mirror saying, let's go, let's get after it today, and let's believe in ourselves? It's something that I have to continually be thinking about, something that I have to always be looking to make sure that I'm not talking down on myself, because it's so easy to do. It's so easy to think that I'm not capable. It's so easy in every situation to think, oh man, what am I doing? I'm a phony. And it's so relatable. I know that if you're listening to this, I know that you've faced it of some sort. There's been some sort of situation where you felt that way. And I want to encourage you to flip the script on your morning. When that alarm clock goes off, go look at yourself in the mirror with hope, with opportunity, with strength, with pride. Be proud of the person that you are. Give yourself grace if you've fallen. Get back up. Keep going. Give yourself that mentality shift, that switch in mindset, and be the best version of yourself today. This is Iron Purpose. Stay sharp, everybody.